Stay close. Whatever happens tonight, do not let them take this book from me.
The city of Thren Hollow had been burning for 3 days when Seraphine Orn walked into the recruitment hall looking for the dullest, most forgettable man she could hire. She found Merrick Halden instead. He sat alone at the end of the bar, nursing a drink he hadn't touched, his jacket scorched at the cuffs from a fire he refused to talk about. The recruiter had warned her, "Don't take that one. He's trouble. He's a ghost from the old wars." But something in his stillness told Seraphine he was exactly what she needed, not because he was quiet, but because he had already survived the kind of chaos she was walking into. "I need a bodyguard," she said, setting a heavy velvet-wrapped bundle on the table between them. "Someone unremarkable. Someone who won't ask questions." Merrick studied her, the pale, luminous skin, the silver hair that seemed to catch light that wasn't there, the strange sigils tattooed faintly across her collarbone. She was beautiful in a way that didn't belong to this ruined world. "You've come to the wrong bar for unremarkable," he said, "but I'll take the job." She hadn't expected that answer. She also hadn't expected, 3 weeks later, to be running for her life beside him through the burning skeleton of the Ashgate district, clutching the same velvet bundle, a book bound in cracked leather and gold filigree, while turrets of flame collapsed around them like falling stars. "You said you didn't ask questions," she shouted over the roar of the fire. "I lied," Merrick said, hauling her past a collapsing beam. "Occupational hazard." The book, she finally told him as they ducked into the ruins of an old transit tunnel, was not a book at all. It was the Carterum, a living archive containing the last coordinates of her homeworld, Ilvenreach, a planet that had gone dark 17 years ago when the Vareth Compact salted its skies and scattered its royal bloodline across a dozen hostile systems. Seraphine was the last of that bloodline. The Carterum was the only key that could reopen the gate home. "They've been hunting me since I was a child," she said, her violet eyes catching the firelight. "I thought hiring someone forgettable would keep me hidden. Instead, I hired a ghost," Merrick said quietly.
"Yeah,
I get that a lot." What she didn't know, what he hadn't told the recruiter, hadn't told anyone in 5 years, was that Merrick Halden wasn't just a veteran of the old wars. He was the last surviving warden of the 9th Cordon, a Black Ops unit that had once been sent to Ilvenreach itself, decades before its fall, to broker a peace treaty that never held. He recognized the sigils on her skin. He recognized the Carterum. He had held it once before, in another lifetime, in a palace that no longer existed. He said nothing. Not yet. Some truths needed the right fire to be spoken into. The right fire came 2 nights later, when the Vareth hunters finally caught up with them in the collapsed cathedral district, a squad of 8, led by a broad-shouldered commander named Draxus Ion, whose armor bore the same burn scar insignia Merrick carried on his own forearm. "Halden," Draxus said, almost gently, as his men fanned out through the smoke. "Still playing bodyguard to lost princesses. Some men never learn. Some men never stop trying to fix what they broke," Merrick answered. The battle that followed tore through 3 burning floors of the cathedral. Merrick fought like something out of old war reels, precise, economical, terrifying, cutting a path through Draxus's men while Seraphine pressed herself against a shattered pillar, the Carterum glowing faintly in her arms as if it, too, remembered him. When Draxus finally cornered them on the collapsing bell tower, he laughed. "You know what she is. You knew the moment you saw her. And you still didn't tell her the truth, that the 9th Cordon didn't fail to save Ilvenreach. We were ordered to let it fall." Seraphine went still. "Merrick." He didn't look away from her. "It's true. I was there. I couldn't stop it then. I'm not letting it happen again." The tower groaned beneath them, fire licking up through the floorboards. Draxus raised his weapon, and Merrick moved first, closing the distance in 3 strides, disarming him with a brutal, practiced economy of motion honed across 100 forgotten battlefields. The 2 men grappled at the tower's broken edge until, with one final shove, Draxus lost his footing and vanished into the smoke and flame below. Silence, but for the crackle of fire and the distant collapse of the district behind them. Seraphine helped Merrick to the tower's edge, blood streaking his temple, and together they watched the fires of Thren Hollow burn toward dawn. "You could have told me," she said softly, "what you were, what you did. Would you still have hired me?" She considered this, then allowed herself, for the first time in 17 years, something close to a smile. "I hired a quiet bodyguard. I got a living legend instead. I think I got the better deal." 3 days later, on a cliffside overlooking the ruined coastline, Seraphine opened the Carterum beneath the stars. Its pages unfurled with light, projecting a map of coordinates that hadn't been seen since Ilvenreach fell, a path home, guarded now not by armies, but by one tired soldier who finally had something worth protecting. "This is only the beginning," she told him, the wind pulling at her silver hair. Merrick slung his rifle over his shoulder and looked out at the horizon, where the first ship of their long journey waited. "Good," he said. "I was getting bored of being a legend nobody remembered." Together, they walked toward the light, not as employer and hired gun, but as the last princess of a fallen world and the ghost who refused to let it fall twice.